Mystic Path to Cosmic Power by Vernon Howard. Chapter 12. How to be an entirely new person. Whenever you hear religious or philosophical ideas, ask yourself, do they helpfully relate to my everyday life of getting along with people, with my inner turmoils, with my concern over events? If the ideas are meaningless words, you are wasting energy that should be spent in connecting cosmic truths with your everyday life. This lets you be in the very center of life's turmoil and yet be completely unaffected. Challenge every idea offered you with, will it lead to self-transformation? Suppose a group of explorers want to reach the peak of a great mountain, but as they sit around camp, they begin arguments. One man accuses another of not getting a proper haircut. Two more disagree over whether the animal they saw was a rabbit or squirrel. A third couple sit and glare at each other without knowing why. That is exactly what the mass of men do. They argue over theology, psychic phenomena, over words and slogans and personalities, over laws and social reforms, all the while thinking that they are perfectly intelligent, reasonable men going somewhere. They go nowhere, for as Emerson observes, society never advances. It recedes as fast on one side as it gains on the other. The best evidence that the mass of men never get anywhere is seen in the frightened look that comes to the eyes of people in off-guard moments. If a truly wise man happened to be nearby those explorers, he would shout, "Stop all that foolishness, climb!" Not all would hear him, but perhaps a man or two would sense the message. He would see the futility of words and the need for personal action. He would decide to break away to become a true individualist. He would climb, and he would reach the peak. That is where you come in. But first you must want to be a genuinely new person, more than you want anything else, more than anything. That leads to inspired action. Then you can climb, and with resolute persistence, you will stand above the world. Use this method for making the most of your studies. Whenever you meet a striking idea, do not assume that you understand it fully. This common tendency must be avoided. Rather, assume that you barely glimpse its glitter. An explorer who comes upon a magnificent long-lost temple in the wilderness does not believe that his first glance includes the whole structure. No, he explores persistently and eagerly, room by room, treasure by treasure. Perhaps an idea in this book awakens your intuition. Make a note of its location. Review it once a day for several days. Do not read dutifully, just to get it done, but with love for discovery. Have the joyful curiosity of the psychic scientist, which you are. Try to connect it with other principles. See its deeper meaning. Ask how it can benefit you in practical ways. It is safe to say that every new idea contains 1,000 times the treasure we first suspect. Let us get on to it. But, with all your studies, remember this. 1 minute of experiencing the free flow of life for yourself is worth 1,000 hours with books and lectures. You don't want to read the menu, you want to taste the dinner. Knowledge is needed, yes, but let it be the gateway to spaciousness. The magic power of wonderment. A man or woman painfully explains, "You know, in spite of all my busy activities, I really don't know what to do with myself. Oh, I have my television and social life. I don't mean things like that. I mean my inner self. It's all so empty and pointless. Yes, that's the whole problem. I just don't know what to do about my inner emptiness. It aches so badly." Of course it does. Such a confession by one man or woman is an honest reflection shared by millions of trapped people. They just don't know what to do with themselves. Their secret emptiness makes every day a new terror. They desperately hope to find enough artificial activities to get them through another empty day. You need not live that way. There is a new way. Take courage and know it can be yours. I will give you a technique that can be used with magical effect if you will but work with it. The very next time you feel overwhelmed by confusion or emptiness, look at this psychic state with a sense of wonderment, yes, wonderment. Don't react with customary fright or resistance. Calmly sit down and try to see what it is all about. Be cheerfully curious, just as if it is a new adventure in self-discovery, for that is just what it is. Something quite remarkable will happen before your eyes. You will see this state in an amazing new way. It will no longer be emptiness, but something else, something which I cannot describe to you, but which you can know for yourself. The darkness turns to light. The next time you do not know what to do with your emptiness, look at it with a sense of wonderment. Your resolve to change yourself will certainly arouse protests from your deeply entrenched habits, but you must flatly refuse to listen. Ignore their accusations. Stay with yourself. And especially, don't fear the consequences of breaking free. We must recognize this subtle enemy called fear of consequences. Unless we are alertly aware of its terrible tyranny, it keeps us its unconscious slave. By consequences, I mean whatever happens to you, inwardly or outwardly, as a result of your blow for personal liberty. Do not fear consequences from anyone or anything. Do what you must do and quietly observe what happens. Stand up in the face of reactions from other people or from your own negative nature. You broke away from that relationship because you can no longer live that kind of life? You acted heroically. You refused to compromise yourself by agreeing with someone simply because you value his friendship? Good. You dared to look within yourself and were shocked to see more negativity than you suspected? That is a positive act. Whatever the consequences, even if painful, let them teach you the lesson. They are trying to tell you of another way to live. They do their best to break you free of the monotonous life. Whatever happens, start each new day with wonderment, as if it were the very first day of your life. This should be done by anyone who doesn't want his future to be repetition of his past. Something you must realize. One psychic fact cannot be repeated too often. We will never break free to newness until we get utterly tired of old bondage. But to get tired of it, we must first become conscious that we are slaves to 1,001 things. We must see it deeply, even painfully, not superficially. We must be weary of worrying over finances. We must get fed up with being scared and lonely. Yes, we must get horrified at the tragedy of our life. This conscious facing of our emptiness makes us tired of living that way any longer. Now we are getting smart. Never ask, what is the alternative to my present way? What will I have in its place? To do so is to fall into a trap. To ask these questions prompts the conditioned mind to project what you desire this state to be in order to feel secure. Then, anything resembling that state will be mistakenly taken as newness, which it is not. It is merely another chair on the same floor of the building. It is not a higher level of the building. Have the trust neither to know nor care about your future. Your task is to leave the past. Do that much, and your future will unfold in a new way. Know that you are free right now, for that is a fact. Realize that the real self can behave as if it feared nothing, for it is simply so. Understand that you need not submit yourself to anyone on earth, for a dignified uprightness is your present possession. Recognize that tomorrow is already just fine, for this pre-recognition is accurate. Be aware that nothing can bar you from the abundant life, for abundance is meant for you. Such truths often puzzle people. They ask, but how can I know that I am free when I feel I am not? How can I say something that seems so untrue? That is a superb question, for it indicates an honest probing of a puzzlement. It is like sitting at the window of a train passing through a darkly dangerous jungle. You look out to see all sorts of fierce beasts. If your imagination runs wild and you fail to realize that you are on a safe train, you will be scared and nervous. We must be constantly aware of where we really are. We are on the spiritual train that carries us safely past the seeming threats of the exterior world. With that consciousness, we can serenely sit back to enjoy the trip. Freedom is your actual state at this very instant. You need only realize it with spiritual discernment. By doing this, you have liberty and strength unknown by those who are considered great in public eyes. They know nothing of this secret force, nor do they want it, for it means the end of their ego-centered life. To live from egotism is minute by minute slavery, as every slave knows. You will be great in a different way. You will be carried through every day with no worries and no hurts. You will personally know what every religious teacher has been trying to tell mankind throughout the ages. You will feel the personal miracle of self-transformation. How to walk away from problems. Imagine yourself captured by a wicked magician who wishes to use you as a slave around his dreary manor. Knowing you will not consciously consent, he slips you a potion, creating the illusion that you cannot escape from the grounds. But the fact is, the manor has neither walls nor guards. You are perfectly free to walk away any time you choose. Now what is your problem? To hammer painfully against the walls. What walls? To battle the guards. They don't exist. No, the problem is not to do something, but to see something. Seeing is the only effective doing. You are not walled in by either a trivial problem or by the most serious crisis you can imagine. You are free right now, at the very instant you read this line. See it. I wish that, as seekers of bliss, which all of us are, you would try to experience for yourselves that universal truth which is in all and may be felt by all. This state is not an invention of anyone. It is already there. We have simply to discover it. An intellectual examination of a truth does not free us inwardly. We may start with mental examination, but must dare to go beyond it to higher perception, for that alone brings about the new birth urged by the New Testament. The great danger to a seeker is his careless assumption that intellectual activity is the same as spiritual awareness. But it is no more the same than examining a grounded airplane is the same as flying high. We must pass from thinking our life to living it. A classic book of mysticism, Theologia Germanica, confirms, "We are speaking of a certain truth which it is possible to know by experience." It is as if a polar bear tried to explain to his cub what it feels like to swim in the sea. The cub, being able to think only in terms of his present environment on land, could not possibly translate his parents' words into meaning. But as he plunges into the sea for himself, he knows. Remember, a truth that a man does not understand does not exist for him. Even though giving lip service, such as publicly declaring that inner values are all that count, he will secretly disbelieve or even scorn it. And since he cannot see this truth, he cannot be paid by it. Understanding is everything. When a truth is actually understood, it changes us. It is so incredibly different from what we had imagined that we meet the surprise of our lives. It is wonderment, relief, exaltation. Be willing to receive higher instruction from those who know, the genuine mystics. There are thousands of people who cannot help you, only a few who can. Listen to them. It takes a lighted candle to light another. The self-confidence of a new man. I said before that this book is for those who want to escape. One reason for escape is the battering influences of everyday life. Most people are left dizzy and exhausted by the rainstorm of people and events. I give you assurance, all can be altered. The only necessary and healthy influences are those arising within your original nature. They are the only kind of influences that need affect you. I give you assurance. The truth within is stronger than your fears. A person who dislikes you, your boss at work, restlessness, shattered hopes, scary headlines, someone who seems to dominate and threaten you, the accusations of failure and defeat from your own mind, illness, social hypocrisy, a demanding government, enslaving habits, boredom, panic over the future, depression, a sense of ruin, heartache, fear of God, aloneness and loneliness, anxiety over loss of something valuable, collapse of your strength, the terrifying suspicion that life is passing you by, a nagging business complication, humiliation, utter confusion as to what to do and how to do it. The truth, which is always a part of you, is always stronger than anything else. When a single idea like this is permitted its dynamic entrance, it vibrates your whole psychic system with new power, just as a single beat vibrates the whole drum. If you will study, review, reflect, until you catch even a first glimpse of its mystical meaning, you will make more progress in that time than perhaps in all previous years. The incoming idea magically turns into personal meaning. All welcomed ideas change into personal meaning when we dare to seek first the kingdom of heaven. Please do not react to this as a mere religious truth you have heard before. It is that, all right, but taking it as a nice but impractical church concept will do nothing for you. Take it as being as practical as apple pie. It is as useful to you as that. One exciting benefit provided by your newness is an amazing self-confidence that you never before thought possible. You laugh at things that used to bother you. You do and say and think things that would have horrified you before, but now you know they are right, just fine and right. A psychologist like William James would say you are disinhibited. A philosopher like Epictetus would remark that you have found yourself at last. An Eastern teacher like Chuang Tse would observe that you have, thank heaven, cut the nonsense from your mind to live as nature intended. But call it what you like, you are fearless. You cheerfully risk everything because you know you have nothing to lose. You no longer care what others think. You used to be timid because you thought they could harm or benefit you. But now you know better. Your good is from a single supreme source. You are a bird set free from the cage of human power. You daringly defy the world and win every time. But it is a quiet daring, having nothing of the egotism of the old nature. It is humble. Having lost your false sense of self, that egotistical sense of self that causes all griefs, you have the new humility of the true self. You are actually a new person, and how merrily you roll along. Where do you stand? I want to talk with you for a few minutes about a subject of supreme significance. I start by asking a question. Can you imagine what it would be like if you had no ideas at all about your spiritual life? Can you conceive it? What if you had no attitudes and beliefs whatsoever about yourself in relation to God, deliverance, eternity, and other spiritual matters? Examine your mind for a moment, and you will unearth hundreds of fixed ideas about these subjects. Suppose, just suppose, you had none of them. In this vacant state, who would you be? How would you identify yourself? You would not be the kind of person you now take yourself as being at all. That is so, is it not? Perhaps you say, but if I had no attitudes, I would have no foundation from which to think. I would be empty, feel myself as nothing. Yes, you are getting the point. In this state of nothingness, you could not possibly say, I am a spiritual person, I am sincere, I know what I am talking about when it comes to religious matters. Your emptiness would make you consciously disturbed by tearing away all seeming securities. You would plainly see how frightened you are. To repeat the question, what if you knew nothing, had no assurances, were completely adrift without your present mental anchors? In that seemingly helpless state, you would be an entirely different kind of person than you now are. Is that not a fact? It is really quite simple. Your life is now what it is because you do think from your present ideas. You would not live the same way if you did not have them. Now let me ask a second question. Your presently possessed attitudes, what kind of a life have they given you up to now? You must answer this to yourself with every ounce of frankness within you. Have they supplied the peace you wish, the freedom of spirit in which there is no secret despair, no unspoken dread, and no suppressed shakiness? What is your answer? We are examining something so immense that it is beyond the power of words to convey, but it is fully within the power of your true self to comprehend. I did not ask whether your ideas have given you a busy day, or social success, or financial security. Only this. Have they supplied that secret something which you seek in the utmost depths of your being, with a yearning far greater than you can possibly express? Now, what if you voluntarily and casually dropped every belief that makes you the kind of person you are? I wonder whether you will make the voluntary choice to do just this. I invite you to do so. Do not think it is a threat to you. It is not. It is deliverance. It is no threat to you, the essential you. It is a threat, be glad, to everything false and frightening. That is what you really want, the destruction of false foundations, cleverly disguised, that only appear to support. It is as if you were standing on a shaky platform watching a passing parade. While one part of your mind tries to enjoy the show, another part trembles with the shakiness beneath your feet. You sense the need to abandon the false structure, but hesitate for fear it will rob you of the passing show. It would not, of course, but because you know of nothing but that insecure platform, you are paralyzed in place. What is beneath the platform? Solid ground. Even if you are unaware of it as yet, there is solid ground upon which there can be no nervous tension. By standing upon it, you would have no responsibility, no need to do anything but relax and enjoy whatever comes along. I do not want to go deeper into this astonishing idea for now, not in this book. I want to leave with you just this much to think about. Where would you stand if every false platform, every wrong impression imposed upon you since birth were removed? What if you no longer stood upon them? In that case, where would you stand? If you feel you are missing out, one of the most powerful of all motivating forces in man is that he not miss out on something. We don't want life to pass us by. Properly directed, this force can turn a poor pilgrim into a wealthy resident. The non-enlightened man is missing out. Oh, what he is missing, if only he could see it. A man must begin to suspect that there is something else within himself, something entirely different from what he now experiences. You speak often of the need for self-transformation. I know this has nothing to do with exterior religious activities, but with inner change. How can I begin? By living from all these new principles that we discuss. This includes self-awareness, ceasing to waste energy in worry and guilt, being receptive to the inner voice, and so on. How does this differ from the way the average man lives? The average person lives from old, fixed, negative ideas. He is unaware that he is mechanically driven by frantic desires and habitual responses to life's challenges. It is a strangely tragic situation. For years you can tell a man that he is mechanical, conditioned, unfree, unhappy, and he will never believe you. He has so blocked his mind from seeing himself as he really is that he refuses to see his own chains. Then how does anyone ever break free? With most people it takes a severe shock of some kind. An intense suffering often makes them seek the light. Correctly used, shock and suffering can be the turning point toward a new life. But it must be correctly used, that is, constructively. Interesting. You say that an awareness of how unhappy we really are can start us toward genuine happiness. Yes. It is not negative to admit we have lost our way. It is an honest step in the right direction. Remember the parable of the prodigal son. It is never your responsibility to create success. Your part is to make an effort to awaken to your true self, whose very nature is success. You need only let it exist in your awakened consciousness. We must wake up. Fine. But how? We can take our answer from a thinker who was more or less ignored by the world of his day, but who has since been acclaimed as a mystic of profound insight. Danish author Søren Kierkegaard would declare, "You are in utter despair about yourself? Good. That is a needed step toward liberation. But you must face your despair fully and deeply, and not lull yourself to sleep with comforting doctrines or shallow escapes. Face the fact of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. Far from being your shame and ruin, honest self. Observation leads to the very salvation for which you would gladly give everything. A city once built an expensive highway that went nowhere. It left the city, twisted around the countryside for a bit, and ended abruptly. A motorist, expecting to reach a definite destination, wasted his time and energy. So do we waste ourselves when traveling through life on false principles. We must learn to separate the true from the false. The preceding paragraph contains a true principle. Can you think of anything more exciting than to feel that you are on the right road at last? A life-transforming secret. If you will give special attention to the ideas of this section until you grasp them fully, I assure you that your life will be utterly transformed. You are about to explore one of the great esoteric secrets of the ages. Men are desperate and frustrated and frightened because they live from imaginary pictures they have of themselves rather than from their true nature. If you spent a dozen years working to grasp that single fact, it would not be too much. It is that vital to you. Once more, men are desperate and frustrated and frightened because they live from imaginary pictures they have of themselves rather than from their true nature. A man must observe that he is living from imaginary pictures of who he is, from a false sense of identity. At the start, it is difficult to do this because he is so close to himself that he cannot see his fictitious selves. For example, suppose a man has been conditioned since childhood with the idea that he must become a great financial success. He begins to see himself as scoring great financial triumphs, buying and selling famous hotels, traveling around the world in luxury, and so on. But when his dream picture clashes with reality, when he finds himself working in the office, he feels frustrated, but from the clash between what he is and what he falsely thinks he should be. He should be nothing but a harmonious, cheery, decent human being, either with money or flat broke. By seeing this, he would be the happiest office man on earth. There are endless varieties of artificial selves, but all are equally harmful. People imagine they must be wealthy, popular, wise, gay, educated, powerful, impressive, charming, clever. They must be nothing of the sort. They must be themselves. Then, all the extras of life that we need will be added to us. We will enjoy them, not be possessed. Imaginary self-pictures also explain mankind's wars and crimes and other social tragedies. People, dominated by false ideas of who they are, will be compulsively driven to greed and destructive ambition. When you see that millions of people are hounded by their false identities, you will understand why the world is so wounded. The destruction of the false self is a great esoteric secret that few of the billions on earth know about. Of those who have heard, few follow it through to self-liberation. You can, if you choose, be different from billions of desperate people. You can work with this idea until it becomes part of your understanding, and then you will live as a new person. What can you do? You can observe yourself daily, watch your daydreams. They are clues to false pictures you have of whom you think you should be. Never mind who you should be. That is a painful trap. Destroy your imaginary self-pictures with ruthless persistence. They are foes who prevent your newness. We resist letting go of our imaginary self-pictures because we fear our emptiness without them. We must courageously face the temporary uncertainty as to who we are if we are to discover our true spiritual identity. All the great religions, including that of the New Testament, tell about this stage of our development. It is like continuing through a dark tunnel to reach finally the sunlight beyond. You can choose newness. You have nothing to show. You have everything to be. People are so confused about what to do with their family affairs, love life, finances, health. And no matter what they do, nothing helps very much. Of course it doesn't. Nothing can be truly different until the individual is different, really different internally. Doing without being is a dreadful way to spend the day, as millions know. But you can be different. Suppose a man without musical training were to sit before a piano day after day and try to produce enjoyable music. No matter what he did, regardless of how hard he tried, nothing but discord came out. If he occasionally struck a harmonious chord, it was purely accidental and was soon lost in the next noise. Suppose he grew tired of discord and made up his mind to understand its cause. He consults a teacher of piano. I don't understand why I can't play the piano. Very simple. You must change yourself. In what way? You have to understand the principles of music. But I already do. No, this is your whole problem. You insist that you already know, but you don't. If you really understood, you would play harmoniously. It is as simple as that. So what do I do? Stop trying to do things with that piano. It will get you nowhere, as you have already proved. Instead, be someone. Be someone who understands the principles of music. Then, you have no problem in doing. It will be easy, accurate, enjoyable, rewarding. That illustrates how millions of people fail to produce daily harmony. Even when something goes well for a while, they fear future discord. They know it will come, because it always does. But it need not come anymore. I assure you that it can be a thing of the past, gone forever. We need only make a sincere effort to be someone who understands the principles of life. They are available to anyone who really wants them. People say to me, I think I have power to transform my life, but the beautiful bubble bursts, and I'm right back where I started. Where do I go from here? What power, if any, do I have to make things right? You can be certain of one power, that of choice. You can choose to turn your life in the opposite direction. You need not be strong about it. You need not know where you are going. You need have no security of any kind. You need not determine that you will endure in your choice, for at the beginning it is impossible. There are still too many negativities within you that don't want you to wake up. You need only choose to turn, then keep choosing as many times as necessary. That is all you need do. And it is certainly something you can do. Then, as you continue to choose, everything is yours, just as turning toward a lovely sunset makes it yours. Magnificent, if only you will grasp this. Do you see how you can now lay aside all your pointless duties, your false responsibilities, your artificial strengths? Do you see how you can be in love with life because you no longer fear it? Choose to turn in the opposite direction. Do it now. Do it, and the whole universe belongs to you. Steps in this chapter for becoming a new person. 1. Wish for newness more than anything else. 2. Walk the mystic path with quiet wonderment. It is a special type of energy. 3. You need never submit your integrity to anyone or anything. 4. We must walk beyond mere intellectual agreement to cosmic ideas to their total absorption. 5. When cosmic ideas are fully understood, they create a new man, a new woman. 6. Newness provides an amazing self-confidence. You are uninfluenced by anything exterior to yourself. 7. By daring to abandon shaky supports, you find yourself on the solid ground of reality at last. 8. You can use any present troubles to make yourself a new person. 9. Do not try to create life success. Merely let it exist in your awakened mind. 10. Choose to be a new person.